Hello, I want to get on more divine relationships. I think some people, no matter how you identify yourself, may have had trouble with friendships and relationships, or maybe just decided to stay single, maybe don't have a lot of friends, maybe not around their family, as family oriented as others, are, or as society might say that you should be. And I think because there's always been a different destiny for a lot of people like that, and I think including myself. And we were never meant to fit in a type of realm that's completely ran by the ego. We were never, some of us were not meant to form certain relationships in a realm completely ruled by the ego. So now some people, got into relationships, which is, authentic. But for the most part, some people, who feel like they don't fit in, who, I don't necessarily say lonely. I don't know if I can feel lonely if I'm in a still somewhat in a realm where people are controlled by the ego. I don't know if I want to feel lonely for not having that kind of company, right? Especially if you're trying to move out of an ego type of rulership, right, and move into more of a dimension where it's non-duality, right? Okay, and it's more about on a love type of vibration and a higher. Is you're like in a higher realm, right? You moving in that direction. You kind of don't even worry about being lonely because the company that's going to be around you is going to be something that's going to pull you back down. So I don't, I haven't really been lonely like that. Some people like to feel like you're lonely because in their mind, you're supposed to always have somebody around you, but that's because they're completely ruled by the ego, right? So they can't see it no other way. But people who are not completely ruled by the ego, they don't want the company of something like that, because when you in a realm like the ego, like many of us are in, and some of us are trying to move away from, that means you're constantly being fragmented. You're constantly being fragmented, constantly fragmented, right? You're constantly being fragmented. And so a lot of people like that, they can't understand why you just can't, they feel like should have any piece of man, right? Any piece of man, you should, where your man at? People like, especially brown people like to do that. And it's interesting that a lot of brown people like to do that to other brown women, because I've seen where even the women in the Middle East, they trying to break free from the bondage. And those are the main women who, they're almost like biblical, right? They feel like they're not even a woman unless they have children and stuff, but they even breaking free from that bondage, that type of bondage that the men had them in, right? And a lot of them are risking their lives to be free. For some reason, this brown woman in America, which she's really not in bondage. She's only in bondage in her mind. She's not like those women in the Middle East that literally their men put them, like that their men completely control them, right? Including their bank accounts. Some of those women are not allowed to have bank accounts. The brown women in America really don't have those kind of problems. It's bondages in her mind because people tell her what she should do with her life and what she should believe, right? And so the only bondage that that she's in is in her mind. And it's really, the mind doesn't belong to you. So that's what the thing that we have to detach from, is this mind that we think really belongs to us. We're not the mind. The mind is an illusion. And that's why we keep being fragmented, because we keep believing the illusion. I want to talk about a lot of this relationship advice. I don't really listen to it because I don't resonate with relationship advice. I do not resonate with relationship advice. I resonate with the fact that you need to work on yourself so you don't make errors in a relationship where you can turn somebody else off, like moving too fast or being too desperate, stuff like that. Because when you're being too desperate, you're moving fast and you're doing things and you constantly worry about some other woman or whatever. or vice versa, a man can be the same way too. That shows some inner stuff going on. I can see that right there. But trying to play these games to get him to pay attention to you, and you got to do all these different games. You got to act like you're not interested in. It's all these little games you have to play. I don't. That's ego stuff. Okay, it's time for people who are going to move on. It's time to move away from that. You should not have to play these kind of games to make sure somebody stays interested in you. That's why a lot of folks just stay single, including men, not just women. It's a lot of men that choose to stay single too. Like some of these guys that I listen to, like these, what you call these yogis, like some of those Buddhists and stuff, they choose to be single. They choose not to get married because they don't want to choose a relationship where in a world that's ruled by ego, because that's not going to be a relationship based on unconditional love. It's not going to be a relationship based on unconditional love. And you got to play these silly games. You got to, both people are going to be in their ego. And if one person is working on getting out of their ego and they choose to be with somebody else that's completely in their ego, that's a relationship that relationship is not going to work out anyway. So it's like, what's the point of getting in a relationship like that just so you can, just so, because you feel like society has made people feel like they have to be with somebody. See, that's a problem. And that's ego to even listen to something like that. To even listen to, that's why I don't even want to talk to people. That's kind of why I don't want to talk to people. Okay? Because if you were supposed to be with somebody in a divine relationship, it's nothing that you can, it's nothing that's going to keep you away from them. It's really nothing that's going to keep you away from them. If it's divinely orchestrated, nothing is going to keep you away from them. So I don't like the fact that other people feel like you need to rush and just get anybody just to get anybody. That's stupid and that's ego, and it's trash. It's complete trash. That type of advice is complete trash. You better find yourself a man. So that's why you need a man, because you need somebody to take care of these things. I can see that. But then you better be, you need to be careful of whatever strings might be attached to what you're getting. Because I can see certain things that you might need a man for, but it's going to be some baggage that come with that. So yeah, if I have problems with a car, if I need extra stuff like payments or whatever, then some people got a man and can't pay nothing. So, but I can see that, but you need to consider the baggage that comes along with it. Okay. But yeah, and people who are trying to move into a more of a different type of dimension don't even want that. They don't even want a person who's just going to give them money, because that person is not going to just throw them money without something in return. I don't really see that, especially with men. That's very rare, unless he's a really good friend. That's very rare that even if you deal with a man with money and it's not a relationship, something is given to him in return. That's still strings attached. Okay, right? So when you move into a certain dimension where it's more about the divine, you don't even want that. That's like, you don't even want that. You don't want that in your life. You don't want that in your reality, right? Is that something that's like, it's just dirt mark that's that's like nudging on to you, even though that person might be able to pay some things. It's like they ain't gonna. It's gonna be something that you got to give in return. Not too many people just keep giving stuff to you for nothing. But yeah, that's what I want to say. But like this, a lot of relationship advice about how to just attract men and doing stuff and stuff like that for men and getting men with money. I'm not against anybody's page, because there's been a lot of content like that out since forever, way before now, okay? But it's like, in a divine relationship, if something is divinely orchestrated, that type of advice should not be. The only advice that should ever be given when you're getting closer to a divine type of order is to be a whole person. Is to be a whole person. But the advice of how to attract a man and how to get a man with money and how to keep his attention, that is some ego type of stuff, and that's a lot of games that you have to keep playing. See, that's for people who's just going to stay in their ego. right? And they know how to play well enough. They understand the ego well enough to play the game well and to win. But that's not something that you want to stay in. I don't want to have to keep playing that game to attract men and to keep his interest. That's not a divine relationship if you got to do all of that. And some people who are destined, who that's not their destiny to play those kind of games. It's not going to be comfortable to even do those things, right? It's not going to be comfortable to play those kind of games and have to keep doing that, you know. Anyway, I just felt like talking about that. This just kind of ran across my mind. But anyway, I'll talk later. Okay.